Today we're going to be talking about the book series Game of Thrones. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the differences between the book series and the actual TV series, which we all know the TV show ended in an absolute train wreck, which is why I started reading the books, because I wanted to actually see whenever George R.R. Martin does come out with the final books, what the book series actually is supposed to end like. So here we go. Let's get into the key differences. We're going to break it down by character because each character has their similarities and their differences. So let's just go ahead and start off with Tyrion. One of the big differences with Tyrion is Tyrion and Shaes' relationship is not at all what they make it seem in the show. In the show, they make it seem like they're both very much in love with each other, and so when Shae betrays him, it is a big shock to everybody. In the book series, Shae is not as interested as Tyrion believes. He does believe that she's in love with him and that he is in love with her, but Shae never really gets jealous of Sansa or mad at him or anything like that. She very much seems like she's in it for the money. At least that's what the book readers seem. So that way, when she does betray him, it's not like out of left field. Like, why would she do that to him? She loved him. It doesn't feel as deep. Also, if you guys don't know, Tyrion's looks in the books are very different. So he is much uglier in the books. He has one black eye and one green eye, so he has different colored eyes. He also has no nose after the Battle of Blackwater Bay, so it gets completely ripped off. So he's extremely ugly. Starting off, I did want to say one of the biggest differences that I noticed when I was watching the show is the ages of the characters. Everybody is so much younger than you think that they are in the TV show. It is actually crazy. So in the books, Arya is only 9 years old, Sansa is 11, Bran is 7, and Rickon is 3. So they are young. Jon Snow and Robb Stark are both 14 years old. So again, in the show, they look like they're 18. In the books, they are 14 years old. Missandei is 10, so she is young. She's not having any romance with Grey Worm anytime soon. She is 10 years old. Tyrion is 24, which surprised me because I thought he was a lot older. Brienne is only 17 and Daenerys is only 13, guys. So when everything happens with Khal Drogo, she is 13 years old. She is extremely young. Along with that, something else that's really common in the books is for a lot of the characters to have more siblings than they do in the actual TV show. For example, the Tyrells are not just Marjorie and Loras Tyrell. They also have two brothers, Willis Tyrell and Garland Tyrell, which is relevant because in the books, Olenna Tyrell actually tries to get Sansa to marry Willis Tyrell, and they respond by actually having her marry Tyrion. So in the show, I'm pretty sure they want her to marry Loras, but in the book series, they want her to marry Willis, which is also important because once they kill Marjorie and Loras, they still have their bloodline is still alive and well via the two other brothers. Davos in the show only has one son who dies in the Battle of Blackwater Way. In the book series, he has 7 sons. Yes, you heard that correct. 7 sons, and 4 of them do die in the battle, but then he still has 3 sons that are alive, one of which squires for Stannis Baratheon. All right, let's move on to Daenerys' character and see what's different. This is a little one, but it's kind of important. So in the TV show series, when she first gets with Khal Drogo, it's a very traumatic and non-consensual experience. In the book series, it is extremely consensual and it is not a traumatic experience like you would make in the show. I think they tried to do that in the show for growth or whatever it is, but in the book series, it is not at all like that. So it really surprised me. Also, fun fact about Daenerys in the book series, when she goes into fire, she survives, of course, but she does lose all her hair. It gets burned off, which makes a lot of sense to me. I think they didn't want to do it in the show just because they wanted to keep her more conventionally attractive. But in the book series, when she gets her dragons for the first time, she loses her hair, and the same thing every time she gets into a fire. Gendry has some key differences in the books than he does in the TV show. When they take Gendry in the show to see Stannis because he is a bastard of Robert Baratheon and they want to use his blood, specifically the Lady of Light wants to use his blood in order to make Stannis more powerful. That never happens to Gendry at all. Instead, it happens to Edric Storm, which is another one of Robert Baratheon's bastards. So he is very similar to Gendry, but he's his own complete character, Edric Storm. Gendry actually stays with the Brotherhood without banners, doesn't go to Stannis at all. So that whole storyline was just given to Gendry, even though it had nothing to do with Gendry. Now let's move on to Arya, because they did a similar thing with Arya when she is in Harrenhal and she squires for Lord Tywin. That never actually happens. She squires for Roose Bolton at Harrenhal. And going along with that whole Harrenhal story, it was very different because she does meet Jaqen H'ghar, who she uses kind of blackmail to get him to kill multiple people for her. But in the TV show series, she does it so that she can escape. Whereas in the book, she does it so that she can free a bunch of Northmen that are in the dungeons, so that they take over Harrenhal. And that actually does happen. And then later on, she does want to escape. She actually kills the people she needs to herself, along with Hot Pie and Gendry, and they escape, but out of her own fruition. Arya's list is also a lot longer in the book, just because there are much more characters. So in the TV show, it's like Cersei, Tywin, Joffrey, I forget who was on it. In the books, it's much longer and much more extensive. Let's move on to Robb, which also had some key differences. So in the show, he actually marries a nurse that is tending to the wounded. He falls in love with her and he marries her, which obviously goes against what he wanted with Lord Frey. He was going to marry one of Lord Frey's daughters, but he goes against it, which ultimately leads to his demise in the Red Wedding. In the book series, a similar thing happens, except he doesn't actually fall in love. He ends up defiling one of the women when he's away battling, and feels as though he has to marry her because he took her honor. And so instead of doing it out of love, he does it out of duty. He marries her. So very different situation, because he wasn't actually in love with her. This ultimately does lead to the Red Wedding happening, but his wife doesn't actually die at the Red Wedding because he doesn't want her to come for her safety. He thinks that it would be an insult to Lord Frey if he brought his new wife to the wedding. So he leaves her, and him and his mother just go together, where ultimately they both die at the Red Wedding. But his wife was never with child. He was never in love with her, and she doesn't die at the Red Wedding. Those are some of the key differences in the first books 1 through 3. Of course, there are many more differences. If you guys want me to make another video with more differences or more subtle differences or anything like that, just let me know. I'm more than willing to make another one of these, because I really do love reading and Game of Thrones in general. If you guys are interested in this, subscribe, like this. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing, everyone that did it. We just hit 3,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much. That is insane. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.